My name is Robert Miller, but most people just call me Rob. I'm 61 years old now, with more grey in my beard than I'd like to admit, and a back that aches when I bend too quickly. I've lived a simple life, working as a carpenter most of my years, proud of every table, chair, and cabinet that passed through my hands. I never considered myself wealthy, but I always had enough to keep food on the table, and I thought, naively, maybe, that I had raised a family built on love and loyalty. My wife, God rest her soul, passed away more than a decade ago. That left me with one son, Daniel. He was my pride, my reason for waking up in the mornings after her death. Daniel grew up strong, smart, and ambitious. He had dreams bigger than anything I could ever imagine. Where I saw wood and nails, he saw skyscrapers and corporations. I respected that about him. But somewhere along the line, the boy I raised, the boy who used to sit in my workshop for hours, sanding wood and asking me questions about life, he started changing. I suppose that's where my story begins. It was a chilly autumn evening. I remember the smell of leaves burning in the neighborhood when Daniel called me over to his new house. He had just bought it, a large suburban home with tall windows, manicured lawns, and a 2-car garage. When I pulled up, I couldn't help but smile, thinking, that's my boy. Look at what he's achieved. I parked my old pickup at the curb and carried a bottle of wine, cheap but sentimental. It was the same wine I used to share with his mother on our anniversaries. But the moment I walked through his front door, I felt something was off. His wife, Claire, stood in the kitchen, giving me a look I'll never forget. It was the kind of look you give a stray dog sniffing around your yard. Like I didn't belong. Claire was younger than Daniel, beautiful in that polished, perfect way, but cold as ice. She greeted me with a thin smile and barely a word. "Dad," Daniel said, patting me on the back, "glad you made it." He seemed tense, distracted, as though my being there was more of an obligation than a joy. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was just stress from work. We sat down at the dinner table, the three of us, and I tried to start conversations. I asked about his job, his plans, their marriage. Every answer was clipped short, as if I was intruding into a world where I no longer belonged. Halfway through the meal, Claire set down her fork and said bluntly, "Rob, we need to talk." I froze. My eyes darted to Daniel, but he didn't meet my gaze. "We think," she continued, her voice smooth but sharp, "that it's time you move on. Daniel has his own life now. We have our own life. It's not healthy for you to always be around." I laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. Move on. Claire, he's my son. This is family. But Daniel finally looked at me, his eyes distant, almost ashamed. "Dad, maybe she's right. You've been holding on too much. You still talk about Mom all the time. And, I don't know, it feels like you can't let go. I need space. We need space." The words cut deeper than any knife. My own son, the boy I raised with my bare hands, was telling me I didn't belong in his life anymore. My throat tightened. "Daniel, I'm your father. I've given you everything I could. I was there when your mother died. I carried you through that. And now you're kicking me out." Claire's voice was steady, merciless. "It's for the best. You should focus on your own life, Rob." And just like that, the dinner ended. I left the wine on the table, unopened. I walked out of that big, beautiful house, got into my rusty old truck, and drove away with tears blurring the road. That night, I sat alone in my small, creaky house, the one Daniel had grown up in, staring at the empty chair where his mother used to sit. For the first time in my life, I felt utterly abandoned. The days turned into weeks, and weeks into years. Daniel stopped visiting. He didn't call on holidays. Birthdays passed in silence. I would see his life through social media sometimes. Pictures of him and Claire traveling, smiling, living a life where I no longer had a place. I told myself I'd move on, that I'd stop waiting for the phone to ring. But every night I left the porch light on, just in case he came back. And then, just when I had accepted that my son was gone from me forever, it happened. A knock on my door, loud and desperate, in the middle of a stormy night. I opened it, and there stood Daniel, my son. His expensive suit soaked with rain, his face pale, and his eyes red with tears. "Dad," his voice cracked, broken, pleading. "I need your help." I froze in the doorway, my hand gripping the frame, as though I needed it to hold myself upright. For years I had dreamed of this moment. Imagined Daniel walking back into my life, imagined him saying he was sorry, that he wanted to make things right. But the look in his eyes wasn't just regret, it was desperation. I stepped aside slowly, my voice shaking. "Come in, son. You're drenched." He walked in without hesitation, dripping water onto my old wooden floor, the storm roaring outside like some cruel reminder of the night he had cast me out. I closed the door behind him and studied him quietly. He looked thinner, weaker. His hair was messy, his tie loosened, his shoulders hunched in defeat. This wasn't the same confident, polished man who had shut me out of his life all those years ago. I grabbed an old towel and handed it to him. He took it, wiped his face, then collapsed onto the couch like a broken man. For a long moment, the only sound was the rain hammering against the windows. Finally, I spoke. "Daniel, what happened?" His hands trembled as he held his head. "Dad, I've messed everything up. Claire, she's gone. She left me. Took everything. The house, the money, even custody of the kids." I blinked, stunned. "Kids?" His head snapped up, guilt flashing in his eyes. "Yes. You have 2 grandchildren, Dad. Emma and Lucas. They're 6 and 4. I stumbled back a step, my chest tightening. "Grandchildren, and you never told me." His voice cracked. "I thought I had it all under control. I thought Claire and I could handle it ourselves. But she's ruined me, Dad. She took the company accounts. She dragged my name through the mud, and now I have nothing." Anger boiled in me, anger I hadn't felt in years. Not just at Claire, but at him, at Daniel, for keeping my own flesh and blood from me, for living a whole life without even letting me know. But beneath the fury, there was something else too: sorrow. My son was sitting in my house, crumbling before my eyes. "Why are you here, Daniel?" I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. "After everything, after the way you threw me out of your life, why now?" His eyes filled with tears. "Because you're the only one I have left. Everyone else turned their backs on me. The friends, the investors, they're all gone. And Claire, she's going to take Emma and Lucas away forever. I don't know what to do, Dad. Please, please help me." My heart ached hearing him say those words. For years, I had prayed for a chance to be part of his life again. And now here it was, except it wasn't a warm reunion. It was a plea for salvation. I sat down across from him, leaning forward, my voice low. "You kept my grandchildren from me, Daniel. You cut me out of your life like I was nothing. And now you want me to save you." He flinched at my words, his face twisted with shame. I know I don't deserve it. I was wrong, Dad. I was blinded by pride, by Claire, by the life I thought I wanted. I pushed you away, and it's the biggest regret of my life. But I can't lose my kids. Not them. Please, if you can't forgive me, then at least help me for their sake. Silence hung between us, heavy and suffocating. My mind raced. Part of me wanted to slam the door, to tell him he made his bed, and now he could lie in it. But another part of me, the father who had held him as a baby, who had taught him to ride a bike, who had watched him grow into a man, couldn't ignore him. Finally, I sighed, my shoulders slumping. All right, Daniel, I'll help you. But not for you, for Emma and Lucas. They're innocent in all this. The relief on his face was immediate, almost childlike. He grabbed my hands, his grip tight. Thank you, Dad. Thank you. I pulled away gently. Don't thank me yet. I don't even know what I'm agreeing to. Tell me everything, from the beginning. And so he did. For the next 2 hours, as the storm raged outside, Daniel poured his heart out. He told me how Claire had grown cold over the years, how she had manipulated him, twisted his decisions, convinced him to cut ties with people who cared about him, including me. He explained how she had gained access to his business accounts, how she secretly built her own empire on the side, and how she filed for divorce the moment everything was in her name. By the time he finished, I was sitting in stunned silence. My son had been blind, yes, but he had also been betrayed by the very woman he had trusted most. She's going to fight for full custody, Daniel whispered, his voice barely audible. She's already spreading lies, that I'm unstable, that I can't take care of the kids. And with all the money she has now, I don't stand a chance in court. I leaned back, my eyes narrowing. So you came here, to me. You want me to help you fight her? Yes, he said, desperation dripping from every word. I don't know how, but you've always been strong, Dad. You always knew what to do. Please, don't let me lose them. I sat there, staring at my broken son, and for the first time in years, I felt something shift inside me. A fire I thought had died long ago sparked back to life. If Claire thought she could take everything and destroy my boy, if she thought she could keep my grandchildren away from me, then she had no idea who she was dealing with. I reached for my coat, my voice steady, determined. All right, Daniel. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it my way. And I promise you, Claire is not going to win. That night, after Daniel finally fell asleep on the couch, I stayed awake in my chair, staring at the ceiling. My mind spun with questions and fears, but one thing stood out clear as day. I was going to meet my grandchildren. No matter what had happened between Daniel and me, those kids were innocent, and they deserved to know their grandfather. The next morning, I made us both strong coffee. Daniel looked worn out, his eyes hollow, his shoulders sagging as if the weight of the world rested on them. You said Claire has the kids, I asked. He nodded. She's been keeping them at her parents' place for now. Big house, plenty of money. She thinks it'll make her case stronger. I set my cup down hard enough to rattle it. Then we're paying them a visit. Daniel hesitated. Dad, I don't think that's a good idea. Claire hates you. She never wanted you in our lives. If she sees us together, she'll use it against me. I leaned forward, my voice firm. She's already using everything against you, son. What difference does it make? Those kids deserve to see their father and their grandfather. We can't let her keep them locked away like trophies. He didn't argue after that. Later that afternoon, we drove to Claire's parents' estate. And believe me, it was an estate. Iron gates, sprawling gardens, a mansion that looked like something out of a magazine. As I pulled up in my old truck, I could practically feel the judgment radiating from the place. Claire met us at the door. She was dressed perfectly as always, every hair in place, a smile that could cut glass. But her eyes, oh, her eyes burned with venom the moment they landed on me. Well, well, she said coldly. Look who crawled back. I should have known you'd run to Daddy when things got tough, Daniel. Daniel clenched his jaw, but didn't respond. I stepped forward, meeting her gaze without flinching. We're here to see the children. She crossed her arms, blocking the doorway. They're not your concern, Robert. Not anymore. Those are my grandchildren. I said evenly, though my blood boiled. And Daniel's children. You can't keep them from us. Her lips curved into a cruel smile. Watch me? Just then, I heard small footsteps. Two little faces peeked out from behind the staircase, Emma and Lucas. My heart nearly stopped. Emma had Daniel's dark hair, but her mother's sharp eyes. Lucas, with his messy curls and curious gaze, looked just like Daniel did at that age. Daddy. Emma's voice was soft, uncertain. Daniel's face crumbled. He knelt down right there in the foyer, arms outstretched. Lucas! It's me, it's Daddy. The kids ran toward him, their little feet pounding the floor, and when they leapt into his arms, I felt my throat tighten with emotion. Daniel hugged them fiercely, kissing their heads, tears streaming down his face. But Claire stepped forward, her voice sharp as a whip. That's enough! Back upstairs, both of you! Emma clung tighter to Daniel. No! I want to stay with Daddy. Lucas buried his face in his father's shoulder, refusing to move. The scene ripped at me. I wanted to grab those children, protect them from the icy woman who called herself their mother. Claire's face hardened. Daniel, if you don't hand them back right now, I'll call the police. And when this goes to court, I'll make sure the judge knows you showed up here with him. She glared at me like I was filth. Daniel looked at me, panic in his eyes. I gave him a small nod. Not here, not yet. Slowly, painfully, he loosened his grip and let the children go. Emma sobbed, begging to stay. But Claire's parents appeared, sweeping the kids away as if they were nothing more than possessions. The door slammed in our faces. We drove home in silence. Daniel stared out the window, fists clenched. I kept my hands steady on the wheel, though inside I was raging. I'd never felt so powerless. When we pulled up to my house, Daniel broke down. Dad, I can't lose them. I can't let her win. I put a hand on his shoulder, my voice steady. Then we fight. Not just in court. We fight her games, her lies, her power. But we do it smart. We build a case so strong she can't tear it apart. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? I don't have money for lawyers anymore. I leaned back, a slow fire burning inside me. Don't worry about money. I know people, old friends, folks who owe me favors. And I've still got more fight left in me than Claire expects. If she wants a war, she's going to get one. That night, I started making calls. An old buddy of mine, Frank, had once worked in family law before retiring. Another, Sarah, was an investigator, sharp, resourceful, and relentless. Slowly, the pieces began to fall into place. Daniel didn't understand at first. He thought it was just about hiring a lawyer, filing paperwork. But I knew better. Claire had built her empire on manipulation, deception, and money. To beat her, we had to dig deeper. We had to find the cracks in her perfect facade. And as I sat there, staring at the rain-soaked windows, I whispered to myself, she took my son once. She won't take my grandchildren. The next few weeks were some of the most exhausting of my life. Every day, Daniel and I sat at my kitchen table, turning that old wooden surface into our war room. Papers piled high. Financial records, receipts, emails, photographs. Anything we could dig up on Claire, we spread out like pieces of a puzzle. Frank, my old lawyer friend, came by one afternoon. He was balding now, heavier around the middle, but his mind was as sharp as ever. He adjusted his glasses as he scanned through the documents we had. "She's good," he muttered. "Too good. Most people leave a trail when they siphon money or cheat on accounts. Claire's covered her tracks well." Daniel groaned, running a hand through his hair. "So, what does that mean? That she wins?" Frank shook his head. "Not necessarily. Custody cases aren't just about money. They're about stability. If we can prove she's manipulative or unfit as a parent, that's where we strike." That's when Sarah entered the picture. She was in her 50s now, but still walked with that no-nonsense stride. She had once been the best investigator in town, and when I explained the situation, she didn't hesitate. "I've seen women like Claire before," Sarah said, her voice calm but firm. "Perfect on the outside, poison on the inside. Don't worry, Rob. I'll find what she's hiding." For the first time in a long while, I felt hope. While Sarah began digging into Claire's life, I took Daniel aside one evening. He was pacing the living room, chewing his nails, unable to sit still. "Daniel," I said gently, "you need to be ready for what's coming. This won't be easy. Claire is going to try to break you apart in court. She'll bring up your mistakes, twist your words. You need to stay strong, for Emma and Lucas." He stopped pacing, his eyes wet with guilt. "Dad, I don't deserve them. I don't even deserve your help. I pushed you away. I cut him off. Enough. You made mistakes. We all do. But this isn't about what you deserve anymore. It's about what those kids deserve. And they deserve a father who fights for them." For a moment, he just stared at me. Then he nodded, determination flickering back into his eyes. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah's investigation finally began to pay off. She showed up at my door one night with a folder in her hands, her face grim but triumphant. "You're not going to believe this," she said. Inside the folder were photographs. Claire with another man. Not just any man, but a business associate Daniel had once trusted. The timestamps revealed the affair had been going on for years, even before she filed for divorce. Daniel's jaw tightened as he flipped through the photos. "She betrayed me with him." Sarah nodded. "And that's not all. I dug into her financials. Turns out she's been moving money offshore. Shell companies, hidden accounts. If the court sees this, her perfect little mask will crumble." I leaned back, exhaling slowly. "That's it. That's the crack we needed." Daniel looked at me, his face pale. "But Dad, if she finds out we know this..." "She won't," Sarah interrupted. "Not until the right moment. You have to play it calm. Daniel, let her think she's won. The more arrogant she gets, the harder she'll fall." And fall she would. The day of the custody hearing arrived. Daniel wore a modest suit, nothing flashy. I stood by his side, my presence steady, even though I wasn't allowed to speak during the proceedings. Across the courtroom sat Claire, dressed immaculately in white, as though she were some angel of purity. Her lawyer, sharp and smug, whispered in her ear, and she smirked at us like victory was already hers. When the judge entered, the hearing began. Claire's lawyer painted Daniel as reckless, irresponsible, unfit. They pulled out stories from his past, missed payments, late nights at work, even arguments with Claire twisted into something far darker. Each accusation landed like a punch, and I saw Daniel's confidence waver. But then it was our turn. Frank rose to his feet, his voice calm but firm as he laid out our defense. He spoke of Daniel's love for his children, his efforts to rebuild, his willingness to provide stability. And then, Like a hammer dropping, he revealed Sarah's findings. Photographs of Claire with her lover, bank records of hidden funds, emails detailing manipulations that contradicted the saintly image she projected. The courtroom gasped. Claire's face went pale, her composure cracking for the first time. Her lawyer scrambled, objecting, but the judge silenced him. I'll never forget the moment Emma and Lucas were brought into the courtroom to speak with the judge privately. Their voices were small, but their words carried weight. Emma told the judge how much she missed her daddy, how she wanted to live with him. Lucas, shy and soft-spoken, said the same. When they left the room, I saw tears streaking down Daniel's face. For the first time in years, I reached over and squeezed his hand. By the end of the hearing, the tide had shifted completely. The judge didn't rule immediately, but the look on Claire's face told me everything. I had seen it before, in men who realized too late that their lies had caught up with them. That night, Daniel and I sat on the porch in silence, waiting, hoping. The cicadas sang in the distance, and the air felt heavy with anticipation. "Dad," Daniel whispered, his voice trembling. "What if I lose them anyway? What if she still wins?" I looked out into the night, the glow of the porch light reflecting in my eyes. "Then we fight again, and again, as long as it takes, because family—" "Daniel, you don't give up on family." 2 weeks later, the judgment finally came in. I'll never forget that morning. Daniel and I sat in the courthouse hallway, our nerves frayed, the air thick with tension. Claire walked in with that same icy smile, her lawyer trailing behind, smug as ever. But I could see the cracks in her mask now, the stiffness in her jaw, the tightness in her eyes. She knew the evidence had damaged her, but she was still clinging to the hope that money and influence would tip the scales. When the judge entered, and the proceedings began, the room went silent. The decision was read out slowly, formally, each word landing like a drum beat, and then it came. The moment that changed everything. Custody of the children, Emma Miller and Lucas Miller, shall be awarded primarily to their father, Daniel Miller, with visitation rights granted to the mother. I closed my eyes, a wave of relief washing over me. Daniel buried his face in his hands, shoulders shaking. Claire, on the other hand, shot up from her chair, fury flashing in her eyes. "This isn't over," she snapped, her voice echoing across the courtroom. "You'll regret this, Daniel." "Both of you!" Her finger stabbed through the air in my direction, venom dripping from every syllable. The bailiff warned her to calm down, but she stormed out, her heels clicking furiously against the marble floor. I watched her go, and a strange calm settled over me. She could rage, she could threaten, but she had lost the one thing she valued most: control. Afterward, when Daniel finally embraced me, his voice was raw. "Dad, we did it. I don't even know how to thank you." I pulled him close, my voice firm but tender. "Don't thank me. Be the father they need. That's all I ask." And so, for the first time, I met Emma and Lucas properly. Not through stolen glimpses or desperate moments, but as their grandfather. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon when Daniel brought them to my house. Emma was shy at first, hiding behind her father's leg, while Lucas clutched a toy car tightly in his small hand. But slowly, as the minutes passed, they warmed up. I showed them my workshop, the old tools, the smell of sawdust still lingering in the air. "Did you build all this?" Emma asked, her eyes wide as she ran her fingers along a wooden chair. "Yes," I said, smiling. "And I used to build things with your daddy too, when he was your age." Lucas tugged on my sleeve. "Can you build me something?" My heart swelled. "Of course. Anything you want." That afternoon, We worked together on a small wooden box. Emma helped me sand it smooth, while Lucas insisted on hammering one of the nails himself. Daniel watched from the doorway, his eyes glistening. For the first time in years, I saw joy in his face. Not the fleeting kind, but the deep, genuine joy of a man who had finally found his way back to what mattered. But the storm wasn't over. Claire didn't vanish quietly. She fought tooth and nail, filing appeals, dragging Daniel back into court, spreading rumors about him in the community. Every time she struck, Daniel wavered, his old doubts and guilt gnawing at him. And every time, I reminded him we don't back down. One night, Daniel showed up at my door, his face pale. "Dad, she's threatening to ruin me at work. She's telling people I'm unstable, that I drink, that I can't handle the kids." I clenched my fists, the old anger boiling. Let her talk. Lies don't last forever. You keep your head down, do right by those kids, and the truth will stand. Still, I couldn't ignore the danger. Claire was ruthless, and her bitterness made her reckless. So I stayed close. I picked Emma and Lucas up from school when Daniel was working late. I cooked them dinners, told them stories about their grandmother, about the love that once filled this family before everything went wrong. Slowly, piece by piece, we built something new together, a family rising out of ashes. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, Daniel and I sat on the porch again. The air was warm, filled with the chirping of crickets. "I don't deserve this second chance. Dad," he said quietly, "but you saved me. You saved us." I looked at him, my heart heavy with all the years lost, all the pain endured. "You hurt me, Daniel. You broke my heart when you turned your back on me. But when you came back that night, when you knocked on my door crying, I knew then that no matter what had happened, you were still my son, and a father never stops fighting for his children." His eyes filled with tears. "I'll never make that mistake again. I promise." And for the first time, I believed him. Still, a shadow lingered. I could feel it. Claire wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Her pride was wounded, her power slipping, and a woman like her didn't let go easily. She would strike again. The only question was when and how. But one thing had changed. I wasn't just waiting for the storm anymore. I was ready for it. Because this time, Daniel wasn't alone, and neither was I. I thought the storm had passed after the custody battle, but Claire wasn't the kind of woman to lick her wounds quietly. She wanted revenge, not just against Daniel, but against me too. It started with small things. Strange cars idling near my house at night. Anonymous calls that hung up the second I answered. Then Daniel's workplace received tips that he was neglecting his children. Of course, none of it stuck, but it was clear Claire was behind it all. One night, Emma woke up screaming at Daniel's house. He rushed to her room, only to find her window cracked open and muddy footprints beneath it. Whether it was a bluff or a real attempt to scare us, it was the final straw. I pulled Daniel aside the next day. "She's not going to stop, son. Not until she breaks you, or gets those kids back." Daniel's face was pale, his voice shaking. "What do we do, Dad? I can't keep living like this. The kids can't." I put a hand on his shoulder. "Then we end it. Not by stooping to her level, but by exposing her for who she really is. For good." Sarah helped again, digging deeper into Claire's affairs. What she uncovered was bigger than we imagined. Claire wasn't just hiding money. She was committing fraud on a scale that could land her behind bars. Fake companies, forged documents, tax evasion. The whole empire she had built was rotten to the core. The evidence was undeniable. Still, I knew taking her down in court wasn't enough. She needed to face us. To face me. So, I called her. For the first time in years, I dialed her number. She answered with that venom-laced tone I remembered so well. "What do you want, Robert?" "I want to talk, face to face. No lawyers, no games. Just you and me, tomorrow night at my house." There was a pause, then a low laugh. "Brave of you. Or foolish. Fine, I'll be there." Daniel thought I was crazy when I told him. "Dad, she'll twist anything you say, use it against you." I shook my head. "Not this time. This time, I'm the one holding the cards." The next evening, Claire arrived. She was dressed sharp, like always, but I could see the tension in her eyes. She expected a fight. She didn't expect the folder. I slid across the table the moment she sat down. "What's this?" she sneered. "Proof," I said calmly. "Of everything you've done. The fraud, the offshore accounts, the affair. Every lie you've told, every mask you've worn. It's all in there. One call, and the authorities will have it." Her smile faltered. "You wouldn't dare." I leaned forward, my voice like steel. "Try me. You've taken enough from this family. You stole years from me, poisoned my son, kept my grandchildren from knowing I even existed. But no more. This ends tonight." For the first time, Claire's farce aid cracked. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the papers, her confidence unraveling. "You think you can scare me, old man?" she hissed. I didn't flinch. "I'm not trying to scare you. I'm giving you a choice. Walk away, accept the custody arrangement, leave Daniel and those kids in peace. Do that, and this folder stays shut. Push any further, and I'll bury you with it." Silence stretched between us. I could see the rage in her eyes, the hatred boiling. But beneath it, fear flickered. She knew I meant every word. Finally, she snapped the folder shut and stood, her jaw clenched so tight I thought it might break. "You'll regret this," she whispered. But her voice lacked the fire it once had. I watched her walk out into the night, and for the first time, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders. Daniel came out from the hallway. He had been listening the whole time. His eyes were wide, his voice trembling. "Dad, you stared her down. You actually beat her." I looked at him, tired but proud. "No, son, we beat her. Together." From that day on, Claire's shadow finally began to fade. The appeals stopped. The threats quieted. Whether she feared the evidence or simply realized she had lost, she left us alone. Life slowly settled into something normal. Daniel rebuilt his career, one step at a time. Emma and Lucas spent their days laughing in my backyard, chasing each other through the grass, their voices filling the air with the joy I had thought I'd never hear again. One evening, we all sat around the dinner table, me, Daniel, Emma, and Lucas. The kids were giggling over some silly story, Daniel was smiling. And for the first time in decades, I felt whole again. Emma suddenly looked at me with her bright, curious eyes. "Grandpa, were you always here for Daddy?" The question caught me off guard. Daniel looked down, ashamed, but I smiled softly. "I was always here," I said. "Even when your daddy forgot for a little while. But family always finds its way back." Emma nodded, satisfied, and went back to her meal. But Daniel reached across the table, his hand gripping mine. "Thank you, Dad. For not giving up on me. For saving me, even when I didn't deserve it." I squeezed his hand, my voice low but firm. A father never stops fighting for his children. And now, it's your turn to do the same. For Emma and Lucas. As the sun set outside and laughter filled the room, I realized something. Revenge wasn't about destroying Claire. It never really was. True revenge was reclaiming what she tried to take away. My son, my family, my place in their lives. and I had won.